Hi, I'm Catherine. Welcome to my video podcast where I share my making adventures with a variety of different crafts. I have a few less updates than I had last time, but I'm excited to share those updates with you, as well as some of my plans for this upcoming year and my making adventures with that. Today is January 5th, 2024. And I am just really happy to be here with you today. Thank you to everyone who watched my past videos. Thank you to all of my new subscribers. And I am grateful to everybody who has liked or commented on my past videos as well. I'm grateful for the feedback that I've gotten from all of you. And I hope that I can continue to learn more about knitting from this community. I don't have anybody local to help me out with all of my questions, so I'm grateful to you all. I also wanted to take a minute just to briefly acknowledge the tragedy that occurred in my state yesterday. It's just weighing really heavily on me today. And you know, all too many times we've dealt with this sorrow. So I feel like there aren't words to say, but that I still wanted to sit in it. At least for my own sake. All right. Thank you. Today, I am wearing my Hinterland dress at Dawn's request. So here it is on me. I don't really have a ton of space to stand up and show it to you, but I will do my best. And it might be better if I insert a picture or something. But this is my Hinterland . That's my Hinterland dress. I was short on the free fabric I picked up from the library swap. So that's why my pockets are blue, and the neck facing matches the skirt instead of the bodice. But as you can see, it fits me. It looks nice enough. The neckline is a little bit deeper, larger, wider than I prefer for regular everyday wear. I'm comfortable in it sitting here, but when I am moving around, picking toys up off the floor, or playing on the floor, or any of that sort of stuff, I much prefer to have the neckline higher and more narrow. So that was one of the things I had talked about, perhaps trying to modify when I make this dress again. In that, this dress was an FO on my previous podcast. So if you want to hear more about it, about my challenges, please go and hear more about it there. I also wanted to give you a brief update on my ranunculus. I did block it. And as everyone always says, a good block saves the day. So I find the fit to be really wonderful now, almost all the way around. The sleeves, the length of the sleeve seems to be good. I haven't had any more concerns myself about the ribbing being too loose. I like the way it fits my body. The neck cast on edge is still like a little bit bothersome here and there, but it is not constantly bothering me, and it's definitely not worth figuring out how to take back at this point. So I've been wearing it a lot because it's just a big cozy sweater, and it's the only warm sweater I've knit myself. So it's gotten a lot of use in the last couple of weeks, and it has been, the fisherman's wool has been pilling. I've been trying to pick all the little pills off. I don't know if you can tell, but it's been, matches too much in the background of my wall. Maybe up against my, anyway, it's been pilling a lot, and I don't have a shaver or a depiller or anything to help me take care of it other than pick, which is necessary. And the sweaters that I knit for my girls earlier, the gray ones with the hearts, the bean and olive sweaters, I knit them for their Christmas sweaters. Those are also pilling. So if you have recommendations for a tool to help me depill the sweaters, let me know in the comments down below, or send me a message on Instagram, because I would be really grateful for a good tool to help me clean up my hand knits and hopefully keep them looking good and usable as we continue to work through the winter here. We are hoping for some snow Monday, Tuesday. Probably not everybody is hoping, but in this house, we hope for snow. I love snow. So those are my updates on my past finished objects. And I do have 2 quick finished objects to share today. The first one I don't have with me because I gifted it. Picture here. This is the second classic cuffed hat by Purl Soho. I knit it for my brother using just worsted weight acrylic yarn that I had on hand. I tried to be fancy and do stripes, and it looks really great, except I forgot that like the cuff would fold up, so the back side doesn't look great, but he doesn't care. And I learned something. So that was the goal, was not to be perfect with the stripes because I knew he wouldn't care, but to learn how to think through all of those little details before I'm doing it on like a nice garment for myself out of expensive wool yarn. I think otherwise I knit that the same as the one I had shown as a finished object last time. And I do have Ravelry pages for both of those. So if you want more details, check that out. This next FO I'm much more excited about. I finally finished the world's simplest mittens in my Hobie Tweed Delight yarn. I had, this is a tin can knits pattern. I had previously knit 1 mitten, and when I weighed the mitten compared to the yarn I had left, the mitten was 35 grams and the yarn was 30. So I knew I had to figure out something to make it work. And I was sitting on figuring out what that would be. And I finally decided that I would just prefer to rip it back and knit 2 matching mittens. And that's what I did. And the reason I really wanted these was because previously I made this hat for myself. So now I have a matching set. And I believe there's like a knit along for matching winter sets going on right now. But I probably started and finished outside of the time frame. But if you are inspired, you should join the knit along. The lighting is so dark. You should join the knit along, and if that sounds fun for you this time of year. So about my mittens, I follow the adult large pattern from Tin Can Knits with many modifications. This yarn, I use it as worsted weight, The pattern calls for a very long cuff, which I had done in my first mitten, but that's one of the modifications I made to ensure that I had enough yarn. I also sort of did 2 at a time. What I did was I cast on and knit the ribbing, and then I put it on try it on tubing, and I cast on and knit the ribbing. My yarn was already in pieces because I had taken I had frogged something. So I had 2 places I could start with and 2 places I could work from without it being all attached to one ball of yarn or making extra ends for me. Cast this on and knit the cuff, and then I knit like the up to where you start the gusset. Switch back, knit that next section to match, and then I knit the gusset. Put that on, try it on tubing, knit the gusset, the thumb gusset here. I really hope that's the right word. I think that part is called the gusset, like in a sock. Knit that to match. And I just kept going that way so that I would make sure that they were matching, because I was doing so many modifications to the pattern, and because I was worried about running out of yarn, it helped me to keep them at the same place the whole way through. Another big change I did from the pattern is that I did like the toe of a sock rather than the decreases called for. So I essentially knit this. Yeah, I think I left 12 stitches on each needle rather than 8 by essentially, but I knit this very similar to the toe of a sock because I wanted a flatter mitten. The pattern would have given me more of like a domed mitten where you then pull all the stitches, like the top of a hat, where you pull all the stitches together and run your yarn through that and then weave in that one end. I wanted more of a flat mitten, and this is something I had done in my original, but they fit, and they match, and I have this much yarn left. So I feel like that was pretty successful overall, and I'm just happy to be using them as we have colder weather. And I was really happy to have them in our travels because we traveled north and it was much cooler there than it is here. Checking my notes, I think that is all I wanted to say there. And so we will transition into works in progress, which I only have 2, but I'm excited about both of them and I'm happy to be working on them both. So the first one you've already seen. This is my Stick Season sweater, which is a pattern by Rebecca Clow. I am knitting size 5 in a yarn that my husband hand dyed for this project for himself. I'm knitting it for him. On the stick part of the sweater, I used a US size 5 needles, and on the stockinette, I used a US size 6, and on the neckband, oh yes, the neckband, I used a size 4. So I have not woven in any ends, and I am alternating skeins, so there's like a million ends sticking out everywhere. I have not yet finished the body. Oh man. So here's where the sticks end and the arms join, and I have several inches of stockinette done. And then my goal over break, since I had extra time, was to add the collar, and it looks really good. As I talk about that, I would like to say thank you to Vanissia from the Woolly Worker. I had seen that in one of her sweaters, she did like a slip stitch, crochet slip stitch to help her like pick up all her stitches around the neck and to add like a little extra detail. And I was very interested in doing that. I have crocheted more than I have knit. So I felt really comfortable with that, and I felt like it would help me, like it would be easier for me to pick up the right number of stitches in the right parts of the sweater. It'd be easier to pull back and pick back up. If I wanted to make changes, it felt like a good, almost like a hack for me personally, rather than like a decorative element, which is I think why it was originally shared. And Vanissia sent me a link to the tutorial she had followed. And I think I have that linked on my Ravelry project page, but I can try to link that down below as well if that's something you're interested in doing. And then, yeah, it's a double thick or a folded collar. So I had to do 2x2 rib for 5 inches and then fold it down. And I did fold it down and bind off at the same time. And I used a crochet hook. So I had my live stitches on one needle, and I used my crochet hook for the bind off. So I would go through the yarn on the needle as if to knit, through the stitch I was binding it with, grab the yarn, pull through both, slide the stitch off the needle, and then I would have 2 stitches on my crochet hook. So I'd slip that off. That's like the bind off part. And then I would do that all over again. And I was able to use like a crochet hook a size larger than my knitting needle. I'm not actually sure what millimeter crochet hook I used. I think it was my purple one. So I can add that to my project page notes as well, if I haven't already. And my neckline is still, I mean, I feel like there's a little bit of bunching around that seam. So I would guess that my bind off was still like a little bit too tight. However, it's much better than when I bound off in pattern like that with my knitting needles on the Bean and Olive sweaters. I even had gone up needle size to do my bind off, and it was still much too tight. This is not too tight. This still has stretch. It has plenty of give. It looks nice on my husband. And I'm just super excited to continue working on this. I do have quite a bit of body left to go. And then the sleeves. And obviously that will be another new adventure for me. I haven't done a sweater like this before. I've only done raglan and yoke. And so this sleeve will be like a whole extra new learning. And I'm excited for that as well. I'm contemplating not alternating skeins when I knit the sleeves. If you think that is a horrible idea, drop me a comment and tell me. If you've tried that before and it has not worked for you, please let me know. It's just a small circumference to manage the 2 balls of yarn. And I still have 2 skeins that I haven't used, so I could cake those up and use one for each sleeve. And I feel like that would be plenty. And then I could use whatever's left to finish the body if I needed. Let me know if that's a bad idea, please, because I want this to be a wonderful fitting sweater. I'm very pleased with it so far. Okay, checking my notes. Oh, I've also had a lot of trouble alternating skeins with it looking nicely now that I've started stocking it in the round. I do feel like, yeah, see? Oh, I don't know if it's gonna show up because the lighting is bad. I do feel like there's some weird parts. But I'm hoping that I've gotten the hang of it because I don't notice anything in like the last 3 rounds. So we'll see. I haven't had as much time to work on that as I wish I would have had, but that's life. it was harder to work on vacation because of alternating skeins than I had anticipated. Just because there were so many people and animals around. Okay. My next and last whip is a pair of socks for my 4-year-old. And this is just like a vanilla-ish sock. And I am using Birch and Lily DK. And this is from like an Oops, I think she calls it Oopsies. So this is like not a colorway available in her shop, but a skein of yarn that she dyed and didn't love, but I love. I think there's more variation in it than she was hoping for. But I think it looks great, and I think it's perfect for socks for a 4-year-old, which she has been begging me for a long time to make her socks. Dropped it. I don't have enough experience to just like know what to try for DK weight socks. And so I like looked up a couple places, and I started with 40 stitches on size 4 needles. And then I ended up going down to size 3 needles and using 36 stitches. And this fits her. So here is the first sock. I did a folded 2x2 rib cuff because I was gonna do it all 2x2, and then she got mad at me and I didn't want to rip back. So I had like 20 rounds of 2x2, and I was like, okay, I'll just fold it over. And then I knit stockinette. She wanted it almost all the way to her knees. So I knit a lot. I did a heel flap this is Patton's Croy with just a fingering sock yarn held double to give it more structure. Like I feel like the Patton's sock yarn is really strong, and this is not a sock yarn, it's just a DK superwash. So we wanted the heel to have that extra strength. And then I did just a regular toe. She tried it on and it fits. I finished this first one last night, cast on the second one, still in the ribbing. I find that the ribbing, like with only 18 stitches per needle, is a lot harder for me to manage. It also might be in part just that the superwash yarn is like super slick on my metal needles. So that's what I'm working on. I hope to finish this soon, but then my 2-year-old wants a pair of socks too. So hopefully I can make accommodations for her to have some socks, some plans for her to have some socks as well. Maybe not so long. She's smaller though, so. All right. For the last section of the video today, I wanted to share my plans. Specifically, I am hoping to join Amy from Noble Character Crafts, her Make 9 2024 make along. And so I've been trying to come up with like a Make 9 board. I even like got on Canva and set it up and was hoping to have that like ready for you to look at as I talked through each thing today. However, more advice needed. I noticed that many of the photos of the project that I hope to make are copyrighted. Like the designers get professional pictures taken and they copyright those photos, and all of that makes sense. And I'm not sure if there's protocol for using designers' photographs in like essentially promoting their patterns on Instagram or on YouTube. I would like to show you those pattern photos that are very nice. But I also don't want to request permission from all of them. I wonder if I could show you like the Ravelry page and if that would be better. Or how to then include it on a Make 9 board so that I can put it on Instagram while still making sure that the credit is given well. And I didn't know how to handle that, and I'd rather be cautious than take advantage of someone else's photographs. So I'm not sure that I will put up any photos here, but I wanted to briefly discuss a few. I'll probably run through all 9, but some of them more than others. A few of the things, because I do want to share these things that I'm hoping to make. So one of these first 2 will be the next thing I cast on. And the first one I will share with is the Carla's Dress by Petite Knit, which I have yarn for already. I knit myself a coloring book tee out of this, and I have a lot left over. So I should have plenty to make at least a short sleeve dress for my 4-year-old. And then we can match. So this is the swatch that I made previously with it. And I'm thrilled to be able to use it again. It's a little bit of a pain. So it's fingering weight, raglan dress. But the yarn is like basically 4 strands of thread. And so it's kind of a pain. This is Hobie Dahlia Mixo, and it's like the purple color. I don't even know if you can get this anymore, but that's one of mine that I'm going to make this year. I am also going to be making another Musselburgh in hand-dyed yarn, and this will be for my sister. So this is the color that we dyed that she chose. It's probably a little lighter in real life. And once I just have a mini skein, once the full skein is dyed up, 2 fingering weight skeins held double for the Musselburgh is the plan, because that's what I did on the first one. And I just want to go with what I know. The Musselburgh pattern is by Ysolda Teague. Many people have made it. Go check it out. It's a lot of fun. I will be making it almost identical to the one I previously made. All right, here's a couple other things I'd like to make. I have a cardigan that I crocheted previously that doesn't fit me well. That is out of this, the Tweed Delight. I would like to rip that out and knit myself the Molsa cardigan by Kirsten Joel. I think that I can meet gauge with that yarn, and I love the way that cardigan looks. My only hesitation is that ripping out the cardigan will probably be a ton of work, and there are essentially no project pages on Ravelry for it. And so I'm a little bit hesitant, but I also just think it's gorgeous. And the designer has a second, well, she has more than 2. She has another cardigan that I also really like, but it's a DK weight yarn. And the yarn I have is worsted Aran. So that other cardigan has more, not a ton, but it has a few project pages for it. So I think that, as long as I'm trying to remember the latte cardigan, I might look through some of the comments on the latte cardigan before purchasing the Molsa cardigan pattern. But that's my current plan. I also plan to make myself some purple socks. So I got this yarn. The lighting is so bad. Is it better over here? It's purple and it's gorgeous. I got this in my stocking. My husband dyed this special for me, as a surprise for Christmas, and I think it's beautiful, and I can't wait to knit this into socks for myself. I haven't decided on a pattern yet, but I think I want to do something more than just a vanilla sock. Another pattern that's been really tugging at me lately is the Habitation Throw by Helen Stewart. I think in her original, she knits fingering weight yarn with US size 6 needles, and it gives this like very loose garter gauge that I just love. I don't normally like a super loose gauge, but in this throw blanket, like it just looks perfect for like the back of the couch to snuggle up with, not too hot, but warm enough to provide that comfort that you want. I don't have yarn picked out. I don't even know what kind of yarn I would want to use. I don't have a lot of extra yarn lying around, so I could probably like plan and purchase yarn for it, but I want to make sure that I think through and purchase like the right yarn. I also like if it's striped, that like the stripes are equal distance in width rather than in area. So like if you use mini skeins, it's knit corner to corner. So like the first mini skein would be more rows than the second and the third. And I think I'd rather make sure everything's like the same number of rows, just for my personal preference. So I have to think like all of that through as I think about what I might want to knit that blanket out of. It also just feels like a lot of knitting, but it's garter, so that should be fairly simple. I'm also hoping to knit a tank top. No specific plans yet. I think that sounds like a fun project. As we think about moving into spring and summer, I also hope for a Tolsta tee, which is a pattern by Clow. She released it last summer or spring. I think it was June. And I really wanted to make it, but I already had like enough on my plate knitting wise. And so I'm hoping to make it this coming year. I plan to sew another Hinterland dress. I purchased fabric for it when I was on vacation. We went to Joann's and I found some fabric for that. I'm excited to try it again. I'm just not sure when I'll be able to like commit those like large blocks of time for cutting out pattern pieces and doing the million steps that it requires. Getting out the sewing machine and the iron and making all of that work. But I'm really excited for it. The last thing on my Make 9, 2024, is sibling sweaters. I was planning on making them this fall for my daughters, but the lowest size I felt was too large for my smallest daughter. So next year she will be bigger and she will fit. And now that, that pattern is by Penrose. And now that she's released a sibling sweater, my size pattern, I really could make matching sweaters for the whole family. And that is probably the route I'll lean to for our Christmas sweaters, a year essentially from now. I don't know that I'll really get around to making 6 of them. But hopefully at least 2 for the little girls and maybe another one for myself. So those are my goals. I thank you for listening. Thank you for joining me today. Leave your advice or your tips for all of those different things I was asking about. I'm trying to remember now. A D-pillar, if I can knit the sleeves without alternating skeins, and about how to share patterns without violating copyright. If you know the answers to any of those questions, please leave them below for me. All right, thank you for joining my making adventure, and until next time, God bless.